Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 15 of Enigmatica 2 Expert. Today I would like to get back to our quests here and work towards Draconic Evolution. This quest here is gated behind extreme reactors, applied energistics, and environmental tech. So we've gotten started in environmental tech because we got a quest reward that gave us litherite crystal, but we haven't really done environmental tech yet. So we have to do some of that. We also have to get into extreme reactors, and let me show you why. The Draconic core uses both litherite crystals and plutonium. Everything else here isn't that bad, relatively speaking. We do need a better source of ender pearls at our mob farm, but this is all doable. However, plutonium cannot be made without a reactor. It does have a crafting recipe using cyanite, plutonium, bunch of stuff. But I think, is there a reprocessor? The cyanite reprocessor? Oh, no, there isn't. So the only way to make plutonium is this crafting recipe. I was thinking this was if you didn't want to make the cyanite reprocessor. But no, yeah, you have to run a reactor to get cyanite. As far as I know, that's the only way to get this. You run uranium or yellorium through a reactor to get cyanite. Oh, or a fission. Wait. Yeah, or a nuclear craft fission reactor. Well, whatever. Let's use the extreme reactor because that's what the quest here asks us to do. So we have to make the controller and it gives us some more bits. Interestingly, this crafting recipe isn't even made in a crafting table. It's made in the tier 1 crafting table. I don't think I've ever actually seen a recipe use the tier 1 crafting table. So if you're going to use the tier 1 crafting table, why don't you just, make it in a regular crafting table? I'll never know. But for now, let's see if we can make this. I don't expect we'll have any difficulty unless black iron turns out to be an extremely difficult material to make. I guess we'll find out. That's made tough alloy, so tough alloy and steel makes 4. I mean, we can just do that. Yeah. Okay, so basically, yeah, we can make this quite easily. Let's see, like so. And did I say steel? I totally meant Invar. Steel and Invar, same thing. The recipes for the reactor controller used up just about every crafting recipe slot I have in my assembler tree, so we're on the brink of needing another one. However, if I didn't miss anything, we should be able to build one. So this is made in the basic crafting table here, which means while it can be automated, it's really not worth the trouble to do so. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the recipe, putting the items in here, and then I'll handcraft the final result. So looks like we're almost there. Almost there. There we go. Stuff goes here, and then can't be that many things. I use the large lead plate, so that makes the reactor controller. All right, I get all of these. Nice. All right, let's go to the extreme reactors tab. Is there not one? There is no extreme reactors tab. All right, well then, let's just build out a reactor. So for this, we're going to need a bunch of casings. I mean, we're given some free glass, so we may as well use it. And this reactor isn't really to make power, right? The whole purpose of the reactor is to turn fuel into spent fuel. I mean, it will make some power. I'm not going to throw the power away, but I'm not going to try for a power efficient reactor. I'm going to go for one that consumes fuel very quickly. First off, though, it's time to build the other assembler tree. So here it is, 32 channels, 288 recipes, and made from 100% homegrown renewable wood. That's not actually true. I made it with the leftover sacred oak. I had like maybe 3,000 to 4,000 logs, and we used those to make the tree, not what came out of the tree farm. But yeah, we can see actually exactly how many. It takes about 2,000 sacred oak logs to make 100 assemblers. So in theory, I have enough logs left to make another tree, at least 90% of another assembler tree. So I guess we made that tree farm a little bit sooner than we needed. Whatever. I'm going to go ahead and put these accelerator cards in to make them fast, and then we can get back to extreme reactors. Some of you may have noticed that I haven't even automated the assembler yet. I've actually just been batch crafting in here, and when I say batch, I mean like from pretty huge batches. As you can see, how many of these printed logic circuits are in here. I do like 20 stats at a time. So part of the reason I haven't bothered automating this yet is because there's a fairly high number of recipes that actually just use the printed circuit. Like in this case for these IO circuit boards, and then there's the printed, the diamond ones are used in, forget which one of these, but eventually it goes into the draconic core. So I'm gonna have to set up, when I get around to automating it, we'll have to set up something that does siphon off at least some at the printed stage, so that we can't turn 100% of our printed circuits into processors. Not a huge deal, just, I haven't done it yet. But I just want to show you that batch processing can be extremely powerful as an alternative to full-on, full-up automation. Generally speaking, to make a reactor more power efficient, that is fuel efficient, you want to make it wider. You want to give it a larger base. But since I want the opposite of that, I want to give it a smaller base and thus make it a very tall reactor. So I'm going to make a reactor with a 3x3 interior. I'm going to not use any coolant, so it'll just be all fuel rods all the way. Safety, what's that? And then we're going to make it reasonably tall. I'm going to start off at, I think that's like 6. If you make it too tall, you eventually run into the point where you don't make enough fuel to jam into it. But yeah, so right now we'll have a 3x3x6 tall reactor. I think you can put stuff like pyrotheum inside it. At least in some packs you can. Yeah, I don't honestly know if this makes the reactor hotter or colder. I haven't tested it, but in any event, I don't think that's strictly necessary. Anyways, I'm going to include the usual bits, so there's obviously a controller. That's not where I wanted to go. Give me that back. One controller, 2 access ports, one for input, one for output. And then, because I don't, we may as well not throw the energy out, we're going to put a redstone power tap. Cool. So, the control rods go on top. I dislike how you can't shift spacebar while having the jetpack on to hover in place while holding shift. I guess I don't need to hold shift here because you're allowed to right click on fuel rods, but whatever. The jetpack from Simply Jetpacks or whatever allows you to do that. So I suppose you could say I've been spoiled. Dang it. Like here I do need to hold shift so I can place this. I guess I could click here. Alright, whatever. I'm going to build the rest of the oh, by the way, cool thing. You can sleep floating in midair with a sleep charm. Alright, yeah, I'm going to build the rest of the reactor. I'll be back in a second. Voila, it's done. So we can turn it on and then fuel it. I believe uranium. Actually, let's try. Do you accept uranium-238 or does it have to be... No, you don't. Dang it. This stuff is almost useless otherwise. But I assume you accept uranium ingots. Yep, so that fills it up. It starts generating power. Oh, cool. I never knew that it has particle effects. Anyways, as we can see, our reactor is only partially fueled, and it's already producing 16,000 RF a tick. It spends this much fuel, although this is a different unit of millibuckets than usual. I believe, as far as extreme reactors cares, an ingot is 1,000 millibuckets. So this burns 1 ingot in, like 600 ticks, 30 seconds. Hey look, there's our first ingot. But if it's filled up further, I don't think it accepts grit. But if it's filled up further, the fuel consumption rate goes up. But as you may have seen, we don't have enough uranium. In fact, I barely have enough uranium to fuel the reactor all the way up once. That's obviously not very good. So next up, let's look at ways to make more uranium. Although at the higher fuel level, 30,000 RF a tick, that's not half bad. I mean, our reactor or our turbine here is only making 80, right? So it's like 3/8, almost 37, 37.5%, almost 40% as much energy as it. That's not half bad, as long as we can keep it fully fueled. There's a whole bunch of ways to get uranium ore. So far, I've been making it from sifting endstone. However, making endstone automatically is a little bit annoying. You need to do, well, either starlight transmutation or use up glowstone, which requires automating the production of glowstone. And glowstone, for now, is only a relatively rare sifting product because it doesn't come from dust. It only comes from soul sand, which means you have to automate soul sand first. And even then, it's only a 6%. Well, I'm sifting it in iron. So I guess it's a 25% chance. Wait, am I sifting it on it or am I sifting it in diamond? I forget. What am I getting? No, I'm getting blaze powder from netherrack. So I guess I am sifting soul sand through an iron mesh, which means I'm only, or no, I'm sifting soul sand through a diamond mesh, which means I'm only getting 6% glowstone per soul sand. So yeah, well, that is one possible route to endstone. It's not the one I want to take. Another option is just to quarry the end, and you get, 500,000 endstone from one island, and then after you use up your 500,000 endstone, it's not that much of a hassle to move a builder quarry. But I'm a fan of fully renewables. So, fully renewable options include the orchid. I'm not going to get into Botania and make a billion mana just for ore. The industrial foregoing laser, we might do that, but later. Because the laser and the environmental tech void ore miner are very similar, except the void ore miner gets things that are exclusive to it and the laser doesn't. So if we're going to put in that work, we may as well do the void ore miner, and that's really the last option. So given that, let's make void ore miners. Convenient because this is also one of the quests, one of the things that leads into Draconic Evolution. Again, 2 birds, 1 stone. So void ore miners cap out at tier 6. However, I noticed that the tier 6 void ore miner, first of all, it's used to make the dimension builder. Here's a recipe. But the tier 6 void ore miner doesn't get all the materials. It gets all 6 crystals, which is very good. But take a look here. There's only 7 pages of resources that the tier 6 void ore miner can mine. But if we look at the tier 5, there's actually 12 pages, including all 6 crystals. But yeah, like the tier 5 void ore miner, it's actually a better void miner. Well, in terms of number of unique resources it can mine up, is a better miner than the tier 6. Likewise, uranium ore doesn't actually come out of a tier 6. It only goes tier 1 through tier 5. So given that, I guess let's try to make a tier 5 void ore miner. It's entirely possible we'll end up bottlenecked running the tier 1 for a long time to get this erodium, unless it has a crafting recipe, which it doesn't. And this lead, wait, rhodium comes off a magenta lens, not a crystal lens. That's a big boon. All right, well, anyways, there's only one way to start with void ore miners, and that is the tier 1. So let's make the tier 1. I'm told that I believe it's a diode here, which has one heck of a crafting recipe. This is one of the sneaky items that actually does have a mass fabricator recipe. So I'm going to mass fabricator that because I don't want to have to, make a bot. In theory, we only ever make 3. But it's easier to make 1 than to make 3. Looking at this, 1 diode isn't all that bad. There's an empower recipe in here, but anyways, hit the go button. I just want to make sure our empower actually works as advertised. Come on. It's taking you so long. There we go. That's a very faint empower beam. But looks like everything's going to work. So once that product's done, let's run it through the scanner real quick and print a half dozen of them. I don't actually know how much UU matter this will take because this item is not on the list of UU matter costs I've been referencing. So we'll find out in a couple seconds. Hopefully it's not a tremendous. I mean, I guess we only need like 3 of them, so it can be as much as it really. 3.5 millibuckets? Well, sign me up. That should have saved it to here, yeah. And then we can tab over to it. All right. Make me a bunch of these. Another item that might be useful to print here are these connectors. They use a lot of metal. Like, it's what, 4.5 blocks of metal to make one, and use them 4 at a time often, or 2 at a time. I don't know, use a lot of these connectors. So I'm told these could be scanned as well, which appears to be the case. However, these do show up on my list, and my list says that these cost 2.5 buckets each. So if these actually cost 2.5 buckets of UU matter each, I'm not going to be printing them. No, that is way less than two buckets. Cool. So, well, accidentally made a stack of diodes. That's more than I'll ever use. Here, I'll print a couple stacks of connectors. As far as UU matter goes, I do have 300 buckets of it. So, I mean, I'm not going to run out of it anytime soon, that's for sure. Lots of connectors. Lastly, we have litherite crystals, which we need a couple blocks of it to make the void ore miner. We got 9 of them from a quest reward. They're craftable, but it's not exactly a fun crafting recipe, so to speak. So I'm gonna be happy that we got them from a quest reward. That saves us the trouble of making the first one at least, and then we can scan and replicator the rest. Once we have an actual void ore miner up, it can also, like, it happens to mine litherite crystals as well. And I believe every tier of void ore miner has a chance to get, yeah, the crystals. May as well also just complete the intro quest here because, oh, I thought this would give me an assembler. Dang it, it didn't. Alright, whatever. Let's make the assembler. This is like the auto building tool for this mod, so that's not the right assembler. Yeah. And we only need one. What? Do I not have obsidian? Why can't I click to craft? You can actually craft out of the pattern. Oh, I don't have a single litherite crystal left. Really? Oh, they're in here. Okay, never mind. I was about to say, you can normally craft out of the ghost items in your pattern terminal as long as you have the actual items in your system somewhere. Anyways, that is like the multi-tool or multi-block builder. It's very convenient. I wish any mod that has multi-blocks has a tool as good as the assembler. And then let's get the guide too. Which is this? Oh, another litherite crystal. Making me pay for this guide. Environmental tech, we're making the void ore miners, and this just tells us what blocks go into the multi-block. So we're going to start at tier 1, 24 structure frames, 20 panels, no modifiers, 2 cores, and a lens. I'm actually going to start off with 2 tier 1 void ore miners because it takes a lot of erodium to get to tier 2. In fact, what, 54 times 6, or no, 6 times 9, or 54 pieces just to make the controller, and then you have to make all the structure blocks. Basically, if you just have one miner, it takes an incredibly long time. We're talking like better part of a day. I've also spaced them far enough apart that they can both be upgraded all the way to level 6 without interfering with each other, and they're far enough off the ground that they can be upgraded to level 6 without hitting the ground. Conveniently though, we get to start with the magenta lens, so we get to, instead of getting erodium at a 1.4% chance, we get it at 7%, which isn't half bad. So anyways, build the 2 of them. Oh, and the last reason is we're eventually going to have to turn one of these into a void resource miner because we need some of the resources that the void resource miner gets. Ooh, is this going to run into that at the high tier? Yeah, I guess if it does, we can just get rid of the pump jack eventually. Alright, so anyways, last thing we have to do is dig from... I do have 2 atomic disassemblers on me. Dig from the lens down to bedrock. Let's make sure you are not in vein mode. And then, are we under it? Yeah. This has to be able to see either the void or bedrock. So we'll just go all the way down to bedrock, hopefully not falling into lava along the way. And we're through. And we can tell because the light has started beaming. So once that starts running, well, the fact that the laser is there means that it's capable of running. We still need to plug it in and give it, connect it to item storage and all. But we'll do that in a second. I'm going to do the same under this one. Down we go. Next up is power. For sake of convenience, I'm just going to put, can I click it? I can. We're just going to put power cells on these. Power cells, if you see 250,000 per side, more than enough to power these, even at the highest tier. So, output right now, these are running 4,000 RF a tick, taking 400 ticks or what is that, 20 seconds per item. That's a long time. Anyways, we need to put the items somewhere, and I think I'm actually just going to dump them into this ender chest as well and add them to this drawer system, because this is basically all ores and similar, right? So that seems like a reasonable home for it. The void ore miners auto output to adjacent inventory, so you just have to put the ender chest there. And at all tiers, the 5 sides, excluding basically all sides except the bottom of the void ore mine or the controller, will be accessible. So even when we go to tier 2, 3, 4, yada yada yada, the power cell and the ender chest can stay there. Anyways, we can already see there are things going into the ender chest. So there's a lot of ores that this void ore miner will produce that aren't produced from sifting, like as we saw Certus and coal ore. So we're gonna have to, put them into. Basically, we're gonna have to add a lot more drawers here for room for everything. But good thing is, drawer system can be expanded almost indefinitely, as long as all your drawers are within 12 blocks of the controller. And in fact, if I needed to, I could switch this to a slave and put the controller like here, right? So I have 12 blocks this way and 12 blocks that way. Yeah, a drawer wall can be nearly infinite size. Look, we're already getting a rhodium. Now, as far as a rhodium goes, there's nothing we can do but wait. This thing produces it, but it's pretty slow. If it produces, let's see, it's 1 ore per 20 seconds, right? 400 ticks. Also, it only has a chance of producing a rhodium coming in at 8%. So about 1 in 12 items that are produced are rhodium. That means that it takes 12 times 20 seconds or 4 minutes on average to get a piece of rhodium per miner. Because we have 2 miners, we can have that. It's 2 minutes per. But it takes just under 2 stacks, so like 120 pieces of rhodium crystals to make the tier 2 miner. So at, let's see, what is it, 2 minutes per, and for rounding purposes, let's say it takes 120 crystals. That's 4 hours worth of void ore mining time before we can progress on. Unfortunately, I don't want to wait 4 hours to do more, and waiting for this thing to produce the uranium is going to be glacially slow. In fact, in the time I spent building that thing, this reactor has gone through, 2+ stacks of uranium and turned it into cyanide already. These things with this lens produce an incredibly low amount of uranium. It definitely needs to be at least like tier 3, tier 4 before we can mine a meaningful amount of it. So perhaps in the meantime, we'll do the thing where we quarry out the end and sift the end stone for short-term uranium supply. To effectively quarry out the end, I'm going to use a builder. It's possible to do it with just a digital miner too, except a digital miner is slow when you want every single block. So the builder uses these reinforced frames, but I believe we can already auto-craft those. Yeah. A lot of steps. Well, actually, this isn't even all that many steps. I guess it's when you get higher tier. Whatever. We can make those. Machine frames, we can print those. And 4 hammerheads. Oscillogloss, Manulin, and Enderium we can already make. That's trivial. Last up is Psi Metal. So if we get into Psi, to make Psi Metal, let's see, what do we have to do? To get Psi Dust, start by right-clicking a CAD assembler or an Iron CAD assembly. Place down the yada yada yada. And do the thing. All right, I'm going to do these steps. Of course, it's never that easy. The CAD assembler requires mana powder, which either involves going through like 2/3 of Twilight Forest to mine Aurora blocks, and I can't be bothered to do that, or getting into Botania. So I think it's time we got into some Botania. I've avoided it thus far, but we're going to have to do magic sooner or later. Before that, though, let's do a little bit of a cleanup in our quests here. I just have a moderate number of quest rewards that we should claim and open. That's about it. What's in the bag? Food, delicious. More resonating gems, useless things, more delicious food. Obsidian, I was running low on obsidian actually. Another railgun. Some power stuff, more food, and a silky jewel. So, the getting started in Botania requires a petal apothecary, and that's made in a luminous crafting table. not terribly surprising because astral sorcery is a gate to Britannia. In that case, let me go see and go kidnap one of those floating crystals we've seen around. If I can pull up the map, they're in these. That's probably not the structure. The astral sorcery structures. I think, yeah, there's one right here. I'm going to see about kidnapping the crystal that's in there and bring it a little closer to our base. I previously tried to steal one of these with a cardboard box, but it didn't work, and you guys told me I could use a sack of holding to do it. So, there we go. Sack of holding stole the crystal. I'm also going to take the constellation papers that are in here. Don't really care for the other stuff. Apparently, I've already picked up 6 constellation papers, so these don't have anything drawn on them yet. But we're going to, once we do some astral sorcery progression, these will be useful when we can draw new constellations on them. Anyways, back home we go. To start off, I'm going to release our floating crystal above a crafting table, and I believe that turns our crafting table into, it allows us to do some crafting in here. Now we should be able to make the luminous crafting table with some sooty marble. Doesn't seem to be working, so I tried moving the crystal up a block, down a block, but I think perhaps the crystal does not like being kidnapped. And can we really blame it for that? It doesn't let us craft the thing in it. So instead what I'm going to do, I don't know if it'll work if I move this crystal back, but I'm just going to go find another one of these altars. And instead of stealing its crystal, I'm just going to teleport to it when we need to craft that. There's one over here. So I'll fly out there, and then we can set up a matter receiver there. The crystal in here needs a clear view of the stars above to work, so make sure you break anything that might be above it, and then we should be able to put this here. I do need another crafting table, and hopefully we can craft this in here now. Yeah, there we go. So it works here. I'm 99% sure it's because the crystal has some like MBT data on it for where it's supposed to be, and if you kidnap it and move it, it doesn't like that. You know, can't blame it. Things don't like being forcibly moved to new locations. In fact, I'm pretty sure my guess about its position is correct. If you look in the MBT data here on that third line, there's a XY coordinate, and there's a Z coordinate on like the 5th line or something, and I'm pretty sure that's where it has to be for it to function. So because this is not where it is, then well, it doesn't work from here. All right, whatever. I have a floating crystal to play around with as needed. Now that I have the luminous crafting table, in fact, let's see, does a luminous crafting table gain light from the floating crystal? If I just place this here, it has that much light. Somewhat annoyingly at this point is we have to do most of our crafting at night, and I don't have an excellent way of just being like, hey, Bobs, don't spawn. At least not yet. Like, look at that. There's so many friends. If I put this over here, do I have the same amount of light? Excuse me. I'm trying to work here. Light here, but that might also just be because it's almost daytime. I don't know. I mean, no matter what, that floating crystal doesn't hurt. It might not help, but it doesn't hurt, so we'll leave it there. In order to craft using the luminous crafting table, you need a resonating wand. You can't just click the product out of the output slot like you can on a normal crafting table. The two recipes, I decided to use this one because I didn't want to make another trip back to that altar. Because in order to craft this, right, you have to craft on a crafting table with starlight, yada yada yada. Sailor's Mundus can be made the regular Thaumcraft way, which is pretty convenient. Alright, so we put the ingredients in here. If the output shows up here, that means you have enough starlight. In fact, out of curiosity, I'm going to take this, take it away from our crystal, with all that loot, and see, can we craft it here? That is less light, right? Am I crazy? Yeah, okay, so that collector crystal definitely does something. Unless it just also so happens that this is in the middle of a star field, which I suppose is conceivable. Who knows? We can't quite check to see if we're in a star field yet, but we'll get that ability soon. So anyways, it does a little hummy thingamajig, and that should spit out our petal apothecary. If it's taking too long for you too, this process can be time in a bottled. Or not. I guess if you time in a bottle, you might need a bit more starlight to make this possible. Well, that's annoying. I guess we have to wait for the time in a bottle effect to run out. Alright, our Petal Apothecary is done. And while we could just jump straight into Botania now, maybe we should. I was gonna say, I kind of want to get touch blood magic. It's not that bad. Wait. Okay, it is that bad. Dang it, never mind. I was gonna say, let's get into a little bit into blood magic so we can make it nighttime. Because that makes astral sorcery a lot easier. Let me consider the options for a second here. Or, here's a third option. Why don't we just be done with the video for today here. I'll claim the Botania quest just so we can get that out of the way, but oh, I was looking for a reward box. But yeah, we can stop here for today. By the time we come back for next episode, we'll have produced enough Erodium to move on to the next tier Void Ore Miner. And once we get to that tier, like I think we can get through tier 2, going from tier 2 to tier 3 takes a lot less time than tier 1 to tier 2 and so on and so forth. Just because the higher tier Void Ore Miners produce ores way faster. They're both faster like initially, and they have room for upgrades, which will allow them to be, well, even faster than that. So perhaps by the time we actually get around to the next video, we won't actually need the builder anymore. I think the builder is something that will, or the quarry card is something that will still eventually come in handy, or like mining stuff on other planets. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll look into that more later. But for now, let's just wrap this up here for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.